Today we are mock drafting for all 32 teams in the NFL. We're doing the first two rounds, and we're going to play around with this one. It's been a while since we've done a mock draft, but we're going to do one today, and we're going to play around, see how we can get some players to fall, try and make some of these scenarios a little bit interesting, just in case, which we know there will be some weirdness that will happen on draft day. Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're talking about NFL draft every day. We're helping you with your dynasty, rookie drafts. We're looking at these players, these prospects. We're also looking at high school recruiting every day. Click that button, stop missing out. But we're starting off with the first pick here, and we got the Titans on the clock, and we're going to go with our usual suspect, and he's just average on every mock draft going there, and it's Cam Ward. Come on down. I like him. I liked how he transferred instantly to Miami and just balled out. Did well. Earned his way to the top spots. He was a big-time get in the transfer portal. He was the top get in the transfer portal. Could have went anywhere else, but went to Miami. Balled out. Now we're looking at the Cleveland Browns. A big spot is usually Shedeur Sanders, and we've mocked him there a few times. However, I'm getting bored of that. I'm getting pretty bored of mocking Shedeur Sanders to the Browns. And I think Abdul Carter would be rather interesting. Rather interesting for this team. I'm drafting Abdul Carter for the Browns. And then the Myles Garrett possible trade that has been notated on Twitter that came out today or a little bit prior has put some shockwaves on the internet. Now the Giants are on the clock. They need a quarterback. They need one in the worst way. And if you're looking for a Giants-type pick, Shedeur Sanders would be your guy. Patriots are now on the clock, and they're trying to get something for Drake May. Drake May needs a target. Abdul Carter's off the board. We have some other options. We got Mason Graham. We got Will Johnson. I think we go with T-Mac again. I keep mocking him there. I may have to force myself to not mock him next time. Jaguars are on the clock. Travis Hunter is the suspect for the Jacksonville Jaguars here in this position. I do not see him slipping past there. I see him going there, and if he falls, he's going to be a Jet or maybe a Panther. And if they do not go with Travis Hunter in this position, it's either Mason Graham or Will Johnson. I just mocked T-Mac to the Patriots. I do that too much. I do Travis Hunter to the Jaguars too much. I think Mason Graham to the Jaguars switches things up a bit. Now we're looking at the Raiders. We got a new OC in town. We want to make some changes. We're hurting at the quarterback position. And the guy who's making some money here, he's down in the rankings. I do not know why. Jaxson Dart. I see him climbing the board, especially over Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Dylan Gabriel. Outshined a lot of these guys at the Senior Bowl. Jaxson Dart, come on down. That is one of our big surprise picks, but I don't see it as a surprise pick because I see a lot of people making that move. Jets are on the board, and they're going to get a little frisky with it, and they're going to draft Travis Hunter. He fell to 7. I don't see that happening in real life. 7 just seems a little too poor for my blood for Travis Hunter, but now he's a Jet. Panthers are on the board. D-line, DB, Will Johnson is there. That's a very good talent. Now you're a Carolina Panther. Now we got the Saints on the clock. Wide receiver, tight end, defensive line. I like James Pierce. I like Luther Burden. I like Mike Green. I think if you're going to go wide receiver, you better do it early in this draft. You better do it early. That's not a position to wait on because that well's going to dry up. Luther Burden's there. We're going to reach a little bit and get Luther Burden to the Saints. I think that could be a great addition. Bears are on the clock. I always make the same pick, and it's always Will Campbell to the Bears because that's what makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. How about we make a scenario where they were very impressed with Mike Green at the Senior Bowl, and they made the play there? I could definitely see that happening. He was a monster at the Senior Bowl. That could be a possibility. Now the Niners are on the clock. Will Campbell is there, and they're running to pull the trigger to get their tackle. Cowboys are on the clock. Ashton Jeanty's been mocked to the moon to them. Wide receivers a get for them. Luther Burden just went. Mika Buka's still there. That could be a good tandem. for CeeDee Lamb. James Pierce to the Cowboys. Seems like a Cowboys move. Michael Williams seems like a Cowboys move. What would they do here in this spot that would be a little bit different? Emeka Egbuka is a sound wide receiver. Reaching on a player of a position of need is something I could see them doing. Emeka Egbuka, they were hurting at wide receiver pretty bad. Wide receiver has a very steep fall off at this position. Once we get out of that first round, let's do that just to get something different to the Dallas Cowboys. And now we got the Dolphins on the clock. Guard, tackle, defense, safety, whatever's on the board that could be rather interesting. I mock Starks to them a good bit. I think Josh Simmons to help Tua out, to keep him upright. I think that could be a good get. Now we got the Colts on the clock. I'm going to pull the trigger on Tyler Warren. I've made this pick a few times for him. A good pass-catching tight end. Can really help out this team, this offense. There's a lot of pass catchers on this team. This team's getting a lot of firepower on offense. It's got to turn the page with Anthony Richardson soon. But Tyler Warren, here we go. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. James Pierce is on the board. I think this is his time to come off the board. He does look like a Falcon to me. I would like him to go a little bit earlier. I'm rather high on him. But I had to make some changes with how I've been mocking because we're having some fun here today. The Cardinals are up. Tackle is a good get for them. A very good get for them. Kelvin Banks is on the board. We got a little tackle run rolling now. And Kelvin Banks going to the Arizona Cardinals. The Bengals are on the clock. I just saw T-Mac mocked to the Bengals. That came out funny. That ain't happening in this mock. I don't see him falling that far. And I definitely see them making a Bengals type of move here. And I think they're going to have to go a little different. I think Michael Williams is a great spot here for the Bengals. Something a little different. Something they can make happen there for the defense. Seattle's on the clock. We got some good spots here on defense. We got Benjamin Morrison. We got Malaki Starks. We got Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan has been climbing the board. He has been climbing the board. We got Shamar Stewart. He's been climbing the board. Jack Sawyer's been looking good. Jack Sawyer's been climbing in stock. Let's go with Shamar Stewart right now. Let's go with him. Bucks are on the clock. Malaki Starks fell. He fell in this draft, so we're taking him right now. I can't look at him anymore. Wide receiver, tight end, linebacker. Getting weapons for Bo Nix is very huge. Getting somebody that can help him transition, take that next step forward. That is something we are looking for here. And Colston Loveland. Or we're looking at Matthew Golden. Them making a move there. We can also add more to the defense. And that might be our move here. That might be what we do here in this position. I think we're going to hyper-focus on getting him a wide receiver. And we're going to draft Matthew Golden. Steelers on the clock. QB is a position of need, but maybe they address that. Wide receiver, it's fallen off a bit. Ashton Jeanty's there. You could go DB. Benjamin Morrison. Ashton Jeanty might be the game breaker for you that you need, especially when you're hurting at the quarterback position. They're going to pull the trigger here. I made that mock a few times. I've mocked him to the Steelers a few times. Chargers on the clock. 22nd pick on the board here. Running back, wide receiver, tight end. And when I think about this team, I think we got a Michigan guy down here that could help them out. Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland to the Chargers. I think this could be an interesting ad going to a Michigan head coach. I think that could be very, very good match to make. And I love Benjamin Morrison. He's fallen in his mock because I draft him too high every time. And I believe the Packers go with a Buckeye and get Jack Sawyer. Relive the AJ Hawk days. I think getting that size on the edge, former 5-star prospect. We're looking at the Vikings here. We got some guys falling off the board. Running back's going to be a huge position of need. Guard is too early in the first round. Interior defensive line is a possibility here. We got Kenneth Grant. We got Walter Nolan. Kenneth Grant is a stud. And you can get running backs later in the draft. Let's do that. Let's get another Michigan guy off the clock here. And interior offensive line, you're going to look second and third round here in this draft. Walter Nolan to the Texans. Come on down. Not sexy, but it has to happen. And Armin to the Rams, getting them a tackle from Mizzou. Ravens are now on the clock. Benjamin Morrison fell to him. Quarterback's not a huge need, but it's a need. It's a need addressed by PFF here, what they're saying. He's coming off the board because he fell to the lap, honestly. Now the Detroit Lions are on the clock. Linebacker, edge, Nick Scorton's coming off the board. I think he's ranked too low here. I probably would have pulled the trigger on him earlier. I think he should have been ranked a little bit higher. So that's my bad. I should have looked at this a little better. Now we're looking at tackle. Josh Connerly got lit up at the Senior Bowl a few times. We got Gray Zabel here. I am pulling the trigger on Josh Connerly, just getting more offensive line depth, more help for this team, just to keep Jaden Daniels upright. Buffalo Bills are now on the clock. Interior defensive line is one of the needs they have. Tyleik Williams has fallen to them, and that is great. That is perfect. That is the perfect pick. Eagles are on the clock. Edge is a position of need. Wide receiver, cornerback. Quarterback, Jahdae Barron's right there. My boy Trey Amos is there. We got Ravel there. We got some guys. We're going Jahdae Barron to the Eagles. And now we're looking at the Chiefs. Who can they pick up right now to help them out? Can they get a luxury pick here? And can they add something to the defense that's already nasty? They're stuffing the run. They rarely ever allow a 100-yard rush. I don't think they had one on the year. Let's go with Demetrius Knight right here just to fill in that spot. Now we're on to round 2. And the Browns are on the clock. Their previous pick, Abdul Carter. Quarterback's a position of need, but we're not pulling that trigger right now. Running back might be, and we got a Marion Hampton right there. However, this draft is deep at running back. Deep at running back. And the one thing at running back they kind of wanted was speed. A guy to catch the ball in the backfield. And an Ohio guy can come off the board here. Trevion Henderson to the Cleveland Browns. You may love it, you may hate it. That's just what has to happen here today. Giants are on the clock. We just drafted the quarterback. This is where we drafted Shedeur Sanders. And this team needs to address the offensive line. And we got a tackle right here from North Dakota State. We're going to pull that trigger for the New York Football Giants. Titans are on the clock. And we just drafted a quarterback. We need tackle, edge. We need a little bit of everything, honestly. Trey Amos, one of my guys is there. I'm going to draft him. Give him to the Titans. Jaguars are on the clock. My last pick with them was Mason Graham. I like Mason Graham a lot. One of my favorite players in the top part of the draft. And what's here on the board that we can help this team out with? Can we go another interior defensive lineman? Can we go edge? Just keep adding talent. We also got Siobhan Ravel from ECU. Come on down. Come on down. We're going defense in this draft. Raiders are on the clock. Our previous pick was Jaxson Dart. We went quarterback. So now we got to get things going. And one thing they needed last year was a running back. They need wide receiver. Wide receiver has fallen off to a good degree here. But you can pick yourselves up a running back. And now you're trying to get sexy on the offense. And Marion Hampton, come on down. Come on down. 30 touchdowns in the last 2 years. You got yourself a stud prospect. The Patriots are now on the clock. Running back's a huge position of need here for them as well. And we're trying to get weapons for Drake May to fall back on. That is something we're looking at. And the other position wells are dropping off. Running back's deep, but I want to make sure we get our guy. Our next guy coming off the board is Caleb Johnson. And he's going to be a workhorse. That's what they need. We can draft another running back if we need as well. But he's going to be the workhorse up the gut. Getting all the carries, getting all the work. Bears are on the clock. And we got a running back run going. Are we going to follow suit? We got edge on the board. That's looking pretty heavy. We went edge in our last pick. We got another pick coming up. Wide receiver. What are we looking at? Is there any offensive lineman coming up when it comes to looks here? And we got another pick, but we do have some players falling to us as well. Let's go with TJ Sanders. Just adding quality talent to the defense. just taking what's coming available to us. Saints are now on the clock. Tight end is a position of need. Defensive line per PFF. When I look at this and I look at what's on the board, I'm looking at luxury options as well. I think we get the edge from Boston College, and we just take the value that comes to us and we'll move things around. We'll just take the talent that gets to us. Bears are back on the clock, and when I look at what's on the board and look at what I drafted here, we went heavy on the defensive line. I think we need to get a little sexy right now. I think we do. And if we're going to do that, we're going to the running back position. And what running back here would make a good Bear? Who would make a good Bear? I'm going to go with Judkins off the board to the Chicago Bears. Pair him up with Caleb Williams. Pair him up with DJ Moore. Pair him up with this offense. Jets are now on the clock. They picked Travis Hunter. And the Jets might need a quarterback, but it ain't going to be in this round. Defensive line, DB. Edge is available. Edge is hot right now. That's something we might be looking at. Safeties up here. Got some guys coming off the board that we like. Got some guys. And we are looking at some of the edge rushers here. Landon Jaxson has been a guy we've been pulling the trigger on lately. Looking at some of the other positions of need here that we can go off of. Looking at here. I want to pull on Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. Love his game. I feel like on the back end, that's a player that can help him out. They can move him around. Now we're looking at the 49ers. Guard, tackle, defensive line. I think we got talent at running back, but that's a well we might want to look at considering what we're seeing with McCaffrey, but we do have talent behind him. When we look at running back, if you want to shake things up here, we have some players. We have some big-time prospects. You may want to throw a pick on that later. You do have some running backs to look at that can hold you over. Looking at this team and what's on the board, defensive line might be a thing to look at. But if I'm going that way, I might want to look at an edge rusher. Move them around, make things happen. Because we got some guys falling to us. Landon Jaxson is a huge value right now. I'm just pulling the trigger here. Cowboys are on the clock. Running back is the biggest position of need we've ever seen with this team. We just drafted Emeka Egbuka. And wouldn't have been funny if they could have went with one of those Ohio State running backs. But now we're looking at Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson, Scatabo, DJ Giddens. We got some good running backs here. And the running back well at the top end is starting to dry up a little bit. It's starting to dry up. So let's say the Cowboys draft Cam Scatabo here. 44th pick overall. Now the Colts are on the clock. We drafted Tyler Warren with their last pick. We're pretty good at wide receiver. There are edges off the board. Princely still there from Ole Miss. We've mocked him in the first round before. Let's send him in the second round to the Colts. Falcons are on the clock. And James Pierce was their last pick. And Jihad Campbell. Cardinals are on the clock. And we're going to get the first guard drafted. Tyler Booker is going to the Cardinals. We're jacking up that offensive line for you guys. Dolphins are on the clock right now. And look at what they did last round. They drafted Josh Simmons. We're on the clock right now. Offensive line could be another thing we address here. Anybody up here on defensive line? We might roll with Omar here from Tennessee. Roll with him. Roll with the value. Bengals are on the clock. And in this scenario, we're looking at this team. And we have a wide receiver falling to our lap. And a lot of people are high on Josh Beck due to what he did in the Senior Bowl. Go watch Alec Ailmeyer's tape. Go watch what he did to Travis Hunter. Not last year, but the year before. Did him dirty. He's a good route runner. He's not super twitchy. He's not super fast, but he's a guy that can break off routes. I think he could be a good addition to this team, especially if Higgins is gone and Jermaine Burton is still doing Jermaine Burton things. We're looking at the Seattle Seahawks. Honestly, I want to look at guard, inside offensive line. We got some of these players. It's a waiting game for them. It makes it hard. But when you come over here and you look at edge, we still got some guys coming. And we're going to the Ohio State well. And we're getting ourselves an edge. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock. Last time we drafted a safety. This time we're drafting a linebacker from UCLA. just really pounding out that defense. Broncos are now up. Tight end is a huge position of need for this team. We got some dudes this year. Elijah Arroyo went off at the Senior Bowl. We're throwing him to the Broncos. Steelers are now on the clock. Wide receiver is a position of need, but not a position you have to roll with here in the second round. I think we go cornerback here. It sounds like a Steelers move. We're going to get Porter from Iowa State. Chargers are up on the clock. Last time they selected tight end Colston Loveland from Michigan. And what's left on the board here for them to pick up? We got Dylan Sampson right there. We can get ourselves a running back that can tote the rock, that has some size, has some burst, and was productive in the SEC. Come on down to the Chargers. Packers are now on the clock. We drafted Jack Sawyer last round. We're looking at what's available here. And we have some players that fell to us. We had some guys that fall to us. Edge is a position we can look at. Kyle Kennard here from South Carolina to the Green Bay Packers. Bills are on the clock. We drafted Tyleik Williams here. I believe wide receiver is an interesting spot for them. Xavier Restrepo, come on down to the Bills. Just adding more talent, adding route runners, getting them some quality talent. Same thing here with the Texans. We're looking at wide receiver, and I like Jaden Higgins. I like Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Coming on down, we're looking for some more dudes that could possibly roll with us. But man, Wyatt Millen's fallen in the rankings. Why is he falling so much? He was so high a bit ago. When I think about the wide receivers, I think Jaden Higgins is going to surprise us. I think some of these rankings here at wide receiver is kind of off, considering what I know from the talent pool at wide receiver. And I really want to look down. I want to look down a little bit. I like Trey Harris. I like a lot of these players. Honestly, we're waiting. We are waiting. This is throwing me off. So now we're looking at defensive line here. Derek Harmon. We're just going to add some more talent to the defensive line, which we probably already did last round. Panthers are on the clock. Will Johnson was our last pick. We can always add more talent anywhere on the board. Jalen Walker just fell to our lap. Fell to our lap. We're making that pick right now. We may not need it, but talent is always welcome. Ravens are on the clock here. Tackle is not something I wouldn't put past them. And I would roll with Donovan Jackson here to the Ravens. Now we're looking at the Detroit Lions. Our next pick here has to be an ankle biter because that is what we would want them to pick, and that's what I would expect them to do. Something that is kind of off the wall a little bit. Somebody that has got some gusto to him, because that's what I think Dan Campbell would do. Get them a nice ankle biter, a guy that is just gritty. And when I look at this, Harold Fannin, just another pass-catching tight end, just adding him to the team because he loves tight ends. We got him and Sam Laporta. How are you going to stop this offense now? How are you going to do that? And the Washington Commanders are on the clock. We drafted a tackle last round, Josh Connerly. We got some good talent there. I think this is where you see the Senior Bowl come in and we draft Jaden Higgins. We get ourselves another wide receiver. Bills are on the clock, our second pick in the second round. And now we can look around. We may want to take a luxury pick here. Let's go with Jordan Birch. Let's just roll with that. Eagles are on the clock. And I think Jack Beck does kind of look like an Eagle, but not today. Not today at all. We're going Jared Ivey to the Eagles. Chiefs are on the clock. Last pick was Demetrius Knight from South Carolina. We added to the defensive line. I think they may want to roll running back. Devin Neal is a hard guy to pass up. We're going to the Chiefs. That locks up this mock draft. Let me know what you think in the comments below. First round's rather interesting. I do not know how to get to the second round here without getting off the page. But let me know what you think about this mock draft in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.